Welcome back everyone. Let's go ahead and do a comparison between the Google Pixel 5a and the Samsung Galaxy S10e and see which one you should go and pick up. Now, I will tell you there's some pros and cons for both. It may not be this obvious of an answer. Now, if you want, I will leave both of these linked down in the description below. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, you can definitely see kind of two different phones, although they kind of look kind of the same. Now, obviously the Pixel 5a is the bigger one. The Samsung Galaxy S10e has that 5.8-inch dynamic AMOLED display, and it's a 1080p panel, and that's pretty much the same thing as a whole punch display, very similar to the Pixel 5a, it's just it's a bigger display. And overall, the S10e's panel was pretty good. I liked it when it first came out. It still looks pretty good, and I have very few complaints about it still. Now with the Pixel 5a, you have a bigger 6.34-inch OLED display, it's 1080p as well, and like I said, almost the same thing. I don't think this panel is better than the S10e, and I don't think this panel is better. I think they're almost exactly the same, although the pixels per inch is slightly higher on the S10e. Now, that's pretty much it on the front. I mean, I really don't think one is way better than the other one. And they both have USB Type-C ports on the bottom, and they both have headphone jacks. But a big thing to keep in mind is that the Galaxy S10e does actually have a microSD card slot. So that is a pretty big advantage that you have on a phone like this. The Pixel 5a is still good, but you don't have a microSD card slot on this phone, unfortunately. Now on the side, in terms of thinness and thickness, pretty much the Pixel 5a is definitely the bigger phone and the thicker phone at that, but the S10e, actually feels pretty thin. Now on the back of these two phones, you have a glass back on the S10e, a metallic back on the Pixel 5a, fingerprint sensor here, the S10e has fingerprint sensor on the side, dual camera setups on both. Now here's the big thing, in terms of the feeling between both, the Galaxy S10e definitely feels way more premium than the Pixel 5a. The 5a doesn't feel cheap. I think is a pretty big step up from the previous generation with the 4a, but the S10e with the glass back, the metallic, the aluminum frame, and this phone feels like $1,000 phone, even though it really wasn't $1,000 phone when it first came out. The Pixel 5a I think still looks pretty good, I think for a budget tier phone, which both of these were, this one came out in 2019, this one just came out, I think the Pixel 5a is actually pretty good for $450. A brand new S10e was more than a Pixel 5a, although these in the used market are now cheaper, so that's a big thing to keep in mind. But the S10e isn't perfect. One of the biggest disadvantages of a Samsung, especially now, is the software. The S10e with One UI 3, it's getting the next version of software, I think, but I'm not a huge fan of One UI. I feel like it's just not that great. It's a lot of bloatware. I like stock Android, this one just kind of just rubs me the wrong way a little bit. With stock Android, especially with the Pixel 5a, first off, this phone is going to outlast this phone. So if you're trying to get a phone that's going to last for the longest amount of time, the Pixel 5a is probably the better way to go. Now on top of this, with something like a Pixel 5a, you're getting stock Android. I mean, it may not be the smoothest thing in the world, but it's definitely not that much bloatware on it. Like, that is one of the biggest advantages of picking up a phone like this. You have very little bloatware on it, and that's one thing that I love about it. On top of this, with things like custom ROMs and stuff, you're going to be able to custom ROM the Pixel 5a once a lot of ROMs come out. The S10e, once it's done with software support from Samsung, it's done forever. Like, people are not going to use this phone, or maybe they still will, but you're just not going to get like full OS updates. With the Pixel 5a has, custom ROM community behind it already probably. So in terms of that covers it up in that aspect. Now let's go ahead and do a speed comparison between both these phones. The Samsung Galaxy S10e has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 chipset with 6 gigs of RAM on the base model and 8 gigs of RAM on the top tier model. This phone has 6 gigs. The Pixel 5a on the other hand has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 765G chipset with 6 gigs of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster one between both of these. So there we go. Unfortunately, we do have this light here, which is going to be kind of annoying, but let me go and clear the apps in the background. There we go. So let's start loading these apps up. Let's do phone calls, 3, 2, 1. And I think the Pixel 5a is faster there. Hopping out of this one, messages, 3, 2, 1. And I think again, that was kind of close. Play Store, 3, 2, 1. And the Pixel 5a was faster. The S10e a little bit slower. Getting into some, scrolling speeds. I'm getting the same kind of vibe. I'm not really seeing that big of a difference between these two. Let's go and load up the next app. Let's do their cameras, 3, 2, 1. And they were about the same. There too, a lot of similarities. Now let's get into some of these third-party apps. So Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And it does look like the S10e is the faster one here, surprisingly. There's quite a bit of a difference between this one. The S10e is fully loaded. Pixel 5a, we eventually do get into it. So quite a super outdated template right here. Let's go and hop out of this app. Let's get into BOFA 321. And I think it was a faster animation on this phone. I guess I do have an update panel here. Let's go and hop out of this one. Let's get into Instagram 321. Pixel 5a again is faster. Twitter 321. Pixel 5a again is the faster one. Hopping out of this one, Snake versus Blocks 321. And the Pixel 5a again is the faster one here. Gameplay wise, I don't think there's going to be that big of a difference like I mentioned before. But yeah, you can kind of see the same type of vibe going on between both. Let's get into the next app, which is Stack 321. And I'm surprised I have like every single app on here that this one has. Usually it's like not this good. Pixel 5a again, it's like slightly faster. It wasn't like extremely like faster, but it was a little slight difference. Gameplay wise, I don't think we're going to see that big of a difference again because this is a pretty basic game and both of these chipsets can pretty much handle it. Quizlet 321. Again, Pixel 5a is faster. Dune, which I do actually have here, 321. This, I don't know what I did with this phone, but I have every single application on this one. Almost exactly the same on both. Let's go and hop out of this one. There's too many ads in this game. Let's do Snapchat, which we do have here, 321. Samsung Galaxy S10e is faster. Now let's do Fruit Ninja, 321. And I guess the S10 is faster, but it was on an older version of the game, so we'll just kind of let this one slide. So I think in terms of speed, I think the Pixel 5a is actually a little bit faster here, which is weird because I thought the S10 was faster the other day. So I don't know what happened here. I think the S10 is a little bit slower, but the Pixel 5a is probably faster when it comes down to it. Now let's go and hit on the cameras. Now with the S10e, you have a dual camera setup. You have a 12 megapixel wide and a 16 megapixel ultra wide sensor. And this is a really good camera. Even when it first came out, I liked it. I think it still looks very, very good. I have very few complaints about it. I think anything you're really going to do, you're going to take really good photos and videos, 4K at 60 on the back, and you have a 10 megapixel front facing camera, which can also do 4K at 60. So that's a really big thing to keep in mind. With something like the Pixel 5a right here, this phone is still really good. I think it has a great camera, 4K at 60 on the back. You have that 12.2 megapixel wide angle lens, then a 16 megapixel ultra wide sensor. So not quite the exact same setup. Well, it is the exact same setup, but a little bit higher megapixel count for that wide angle lens. You have 4K at 60 on the back of the Pixel 5a. And I will probably tell you that the Pixel 5a's camera may be better on the back, but the S10e, for having that ability of doing 4K at 60 on the front, where the Pixel 5a can only do 1080p at 30, and that's kind of a little bit of a difference, and you may prefer something with a better front-facing camera. And because of that, the Galaxy S10e wins in the front camera, but the Pixel 5a wins in the back camera. So now we're at the end of the video. Should you go and buy a Galaxy S10e, or should you go and buy a Pixel 5a? Well, I'll definitely tell you, I think the Pixel 5a is the better choice here. This one is the longer lasting phone. You're getting a kind of a bigger screen if you're into that. Way better battery life. This thing has a massive size battery. The S10e's battery life was actually pretty good too, but the Pixel 5a definitely wins in the battery standpoint. You're getting, stock Android, which is really good. A little bit of a faster performance, which was pretty interesting. I wasn't expecting that. You're getting a better back-facing camera, but you are losing that 4K 60 that the S10e does have on the front. And overall, I mean, I like the Pixel 5a. I like stock Android. I like having longevity of software, and this is probably one of the better phones to pick up there. But the S10e isn't like a bad phone either. I mean, this thing is much older, so it's like 2 years old, over 2 years old at this point, but you're getting like a lot of flagship things. Like this still feels like a flagship phone. It feels way better than the Pixel 5a for sure. You have a micro SD card slot on this phone. I think the display looks better here, even though the display is bigger on the Pixel 5a. You're getting wireless charging and reverse wireless charging on this phone too, which is another amazing feature. And it's cheaper right now in the used market than the Pixel 5a. So I would probably tell you, like, if you're in the market, I would probably recommend getting a Pixel 5a for sure. But if you have an S10e, I mean, this is still a really good phone, and it does go head-to-head with something like a Pixel 5a as well. So in terms of that, that covers it up there. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.